Hello friends, I hope you're all well. It has been a while since I made a video. There have been a lot of things going on, unfortunately, and so I just really haven't had the time. I hope that you're all doing well and that you have developed a practice and that you're following it as best that you can, or as often as suits you as things currently stand. As you practice today, please keep in mind to listen to your body. If your body doesn't want you to do a particular pose, please don't do it. Either take a break or do a substitute pose. Please remember to have perhaps a block and a strap. It can be any type of strap. It could be a belt, a thickish belt, something that would be comfortable for you to hold, or a nice length of relatively thick rope. If the rope is too narrow, if you use it against your foot or hold it in your hands, it'll be difficult. Also, I recommend having a blanket available to you, both for meditation and also just as a prop. Sometimes if you want something to sit on, a blanket is a good option to go with, because it can be as wide as you want and as thick as you want. You could use several blankets, or you could use a couple of blocks too, but you may feel a little unbalanced for that. So I'm going to start with Surya Namaskar, and I will not talk you through Surya Namaskar, but then after doing Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, then I will begin with the instruction. I usually do about 5 rounds to begin with, unless I'm practicing a different form of Hatha yoga. So, the first pose I'd like to work with today is a Virabhadrasana II, Worrier Two. Please stand with your feet a comfortable distance apart, 3 or 4 foot, or if you need a shorter or a wider distance, please do that. Also, please don't feel like you're stuck once your feet are in a particular place. If you need to move your feet in or further out, please do that. Stand a comfortable distance apart. The toes are pointing forwards. Press the big toes down. You'll notice as you do that, that'll shift your weight back so that the weight is rather in front of your heels rather than in your toes. Turn the right foot out. Bring the right foot down, noticing how the top of the foot feels as you bring it down. If it feels really tight, your stance is probably too wide at this particular moment. Draw the knee over the ankle. Check the knee. Make sure that the joint of the knee is rather above the ankle bone and the kneecap lines up with the second toe. To do that, press down with the big toe. That'll help to keep it lined up. You want to avoid having the knee falling in over the arch of the foot or over the heel. The next thing I would like you to be aware of is that if you have damage to your knee and to your ankle and it won't do that, please don't force it. Put your hands on your hips just for a moment and notice that the left hip is further forward than the right hip. That's how it should be. Also, I generally want your torso to be rather straight up and down. If you find that you're leaning forwards, your stance is already too wide. Press down with the big toe, create arch in the rear foot. Keep the rear leg strong. Imagine you're lifting the front leg up off the mat. Do that with all poses that are in this shape, or all standing poses. Bring the arms up, roll them over, bring the wrists back. Your torso is straight up and down. For the moment, you're looking forwards. Your arms are around shoulder height. When you're ready to, start turning your head towards the right. Don't force the head around. Let the head turn at a rate that it wants to turn at. Till eventually you're looking over the middle finger of the right hand. If it doesn't work for you today to have your head turned like that, don't force it. Just let it go to where it wants to go and then relax. Try and keep the muscles relaxed in the pose. So if you find there are muscles that are tensed that you don't need to have tensed in order to be able to manage the pose, try relaxing those muscles. Be mindful of your breath throughout the practice, and you'll notice from time to time that your body is going to make subtle suggestions to you on what you could do, how you could change things. So whenever you make a change in a pose, if it's a deep change, a big change, come out of the pose a little bit before you make the change. Don't make the pose when you're deep in a, don't make the change when you're deep in the pose. You could hurt yourself that way. Listen to your body. Relax the groin. Press down with the outer edges of the feet. Keep an eye on the knee. What's happening with your other arm? Now, straighten your front leg. Feet face the front. If you want to put your arms down for a moment, please do that. If you need to draw your feet in a little bit, please do that, or move them further out if you want to. Remember, you may be tighter on the other side than you were on this side. So if that's the case, allow yourself to be so. Turn the left foot out, bring the foot down, bring the rear toes in, bring the joint of the left knee so that it's above the ankle bone. The kneecap lines up with the second toe. Again, now the right hip is going to be further forward than the left hip. Imagine you're lifting the front leg up off the mat. You're drawing the rear leg towards the midline of the body. Lift the clavicles, your collarbones. Drop the spine of scapula, the top part of the shoulders. What muscles can you relax? Is it time for you to come out of the pose? Now straighten the front leg, feet face the front, return to Tollasana. Toes together, heels slightly apart. Look at the feet. Make sure they're doing what you think they're doing. Press down with the big toes. Pull the arches up. Pull the kneecaps up. Pull the muscles up on the insides of the legs towards the groin. Tuck the two floating ribs. Lift the clavicles. Drop the spine of scapula. Externally rotate the deltoid muscles. To do that, simply turn the hands out. Try to avoid having your shoulders up. Keep the shoulders relaxed down. The chin is tucked a little bit, lengthening the back of the neck. That will help to protect the neck. Doesn't mean you can't hurt it. What's happening with your breath? The next pose that I'm going to do, after I open the window a little bit, it's getting a little warm in here. The next pose that I'm going to do is Virabhadrasana I. I like to do Virabhadrasana I and Virabhadrasana II at the start of a practice because I find that that helps to open up the body very nicely. And so does Surya Namaskar. If you haven't practiced Surya Namaskar, I recommend that you give it a go, or at least look at the various component parts of it. You can do the individual component parts of it rather than doing the whole thing. And it is possible to, at various points, to substitute other poses in the middle of Surya Namaskar. So if you want to do a flow, you can do a flow using Surya Namaskar as the base, and then just changing it slightly in the middle of the pose, or in the middle of the series, to put in the various poses that you want to do. And take your time doing it. Don't feel like you have to be in a hurry when you do that type of thing. So, I'm going to stand at the front of the mat, or towards the front of the mat. This is not the traditional way to get into this pose, but I like this, getting into the pose this way, because it's a lot easier on the hips. And when you step back to put yourself in the pose, your leg, in this case the left leg, is going to go back first. Excuse me, when the left leg goes back, it'll go back at the length that the leg actually wants to go, that your groin actually wants to go, not at what your perceived idea of the length of your stance is for this pose. So this is a nice way to listen to your body, and you can avoid injuring yourself. And you also avoid giving yourself trouble with the hips. The thing I want you to watch out for with this is the knee and also the lower back. The lower back is going to be the most vulnerable bit in the pose, and then the second thing is going to be the knee. So make sure that your lower back feels good when you practice this pose. If you find that your lower back feels really tight, shorten your stance a little bit. That way it'll take off the pressure off of the lower back. And it's very important because you don't want to hurt your lumbar spine. So, to begin with, stand with the feet hip-width apart. Then step back with the left leg. You want to step back so much that the joint of the knee, of the right knee, is above the ankle bone, and the kneecap lines up with the second toe. Your hips are generally square to the front. Imagine that you're lifting the front leg up off the mat and that you're drawing the rear leg towards the inside of the body. You're not actually moving them, but you're engaging the actions as if you were going to do that. So with the rear leg, you feel like you're trying to slide the leg in a little bit. And with the front leg, you feel like you're trying to lift it up. So you'll notice it in the groin, the front part of the hip here, and in the rear. So, find the stance. Then, lift the clavicles, drop the spinal scapula, tuck the two floating ribs. Bring the arms up, hold a nice large beach ball. The arms are in line with the shoulders. If your arms won't go in line with the shoulders, that's fine. But if they will, I would like them to be in line with the shoulders. If you can put your hands together, you may do that, but the arms touch the ears. If your arms don't touch the ears, please don't put the hands together above you. If you want to bring your arms up high, you can do that, providing you keep your shoulders relaxed and you don't feel like you're pulling the rotator cuffs. So, hold a nice large beach ball. What's happening with your lower back? What's happening with the knee? Keep the rear leg strong, because it's the rear leg is where the energy of the pose is coming from. Please be mindful of your breath. Listen to your body. Remember, with all poses, you don't want to overdo them. You take the pose to your edge, and then you back off from the edge. Don't keep a pose at the edge of what you're able to do. That is a very good way to hurt yourself. Keep the chin tucked and the back of the neck long. Now drop the arms down and step forwards to come out of the pose. Avoid, if you can, stepping back. If you step back out of the pose, you're going to put a lot of tension on the lower part of the back. So now I'll do the other side. Again, feet are hip-width apart. Step back. Check the knee. Kneecap lines up with the second toe. Check the hips. Check the back. How does your lower lumbar feel? Does it feel really tight? If it does, shorten your stance. Rear leg is strong. Front leg feels like it's lifting up. The rear leg feels like it's drawing in. Bring the arms up. Hold a nice large beach ball. What's going on? How is your breath? Check your knee. Keep the eye on the knee. The knee wants to move. Keep the big toes engaged. Create the arches in your feet. Even if you're flat-footed, it is the action of pulling up the arches that we want. It doesn't matter whether you can create an arch or not. The outer edges of the feet are pressing down. Your neck feels comfortable. You may be tighter on this side than you were on the other side. If that's the case, allow yourself to be so. And come out of the pose sooner if you need to. Or if your body wants to. Don't let the ego get in the way. Now, drop the arms down. Step forwards to come out of the pose. Regain your equilibrium. Then stand in Tollasana. The next pose I want to do is Parsvottanasana, which is a forward fold. So, going to approach it the same way that we approached Virabhadrasana I. Feet are hip width apart. Step back with the left leg. For the time being, the joint of the knee is above the ankle bone. The kneecap lines up with the second toe. Put your hands on your hips for a moment. Then take your hands. You can either have the hands pointing downwards. You can have the hands pointing upwards behind you. You could hold on to the elbows behind you. You could put the hands across the tops of the back, whichever you prefer. So, what I want you to think of as you do the forward fold is not going down, but rather stretching forwards as you go down. Keep the chin tucked. And as you go down, if you end up going down in increments, which is perfectly fine, if you end up going down in increments, please adjust your chin and neck as you do so. So, to begin with the knee bent, forward fold over the leg. Go down as far as your body comfortably wants to go. Then, start to straighten the leg. You'll notice that your body will probably come up a little bit. You may need to adjust your feet a little bit. If you do, do that. Allow the torso to come up if it wants to. Keep the chin tucked. Keep the spine comfortably extending. Lift the clavicles, drop the spine of scapula. Don't think about going down, just think about extending your spine forwards. And you may find that after a moment or two, depending on how your physical well-being is, you may be able to go down further. If that's the case, that's fine. But if you don't go down any further, that's fine. Remember what I said about going to your edge. Don't stay at the edge. Now, with the right hip, I want you to imagine that the right hip is pulling back towards the left heel. Now, to come out of the pose, bend the knee first. Bend the knee, push down with the foot, and bring yourself up by pressing the foot down. Undo the bind. Step forwards to come out of the pose. Regain your equilibrium. Then to do the other side. Now, if you found the hand position a challenge, the last time, change the position to an easier hand position. Stepping back with the right foot now. The joint of the knee is above the ankle bone, the kneecap lines up with the second toe. Your hips are square to the front. Drop the hands down. Remember, they can be pointed downwards. You could hold onto the elbows. You could put the hands across the tops of the back, or turn the palms so they're facing upwards. If they are facing upwards, I want the entire hand to be touching, not this. That does not count. That's not good. If you're doing this, I want you to choose a different hand position. In time, you'll be able to do this. But just allow your body to be the way it wants to be right now, not your ego. Believe me, the ego does kick in often. So, when you're ready to forward fold, over the leg, not the groin. Over the leg, not the groin. The chin is tucking slightly. The back of the neck is lengthening. You're letting the spine lengthen. Then start to straighten the leg. Gaze at the big toe or beyond the big toe or at the foot. Your foot is generally pointing forwards. It's not going to the side, one side or the other. Unless you've had damage to your ankle, of course, and that's the way it naturally goes. But ideally, it'll be pointing forwards. Now, as you go down, remember to adjust the chin. Remember to lift the clavicles. Those are the collarbones. Lift them up. Let the top part of the shoulders, the spine of scapula, drop down your back towards the end of your spine, towards the coccyx. Remember, you may be tighter on one side than you are on the other. If that's the case, allow yourself to be so. Now bend the knee, press down with the foot, and lift yourself up. There we go. Step forwards to come out of the pose. Tadasana. Remember, the weight is in front of the heels. You're lengthening your spine comfortably. You're tucking the two floating ribs. You're lifting the collarbones. You're dropping the spine of scapula. The next pose I would like to do is Vrksasana, the tree pose. And the tree pose is a pose that people sometimes have a problem with. And if today is one of those days where you're having a problem with it, don't worry about it. Everybody has the days where they're just wibbly wobbly. So, if you want to, go to some place where you can hold on to something. You can hold on to the back of a chair, whatever happens to work for you. If you don't need to use one, that's fine. But have their feet so the feet are on the same surface. So don't have one on the mat and then one on the floor. Please remember that no part of the foot touches the knee. The toes can be on the floor and the heel on the ankle, like so. The foot can be entirely on the calf, or the foot can be entirely on the thigh. We'll start with the standing leg being the left leg, and the leg we're going to draw up is the right leg. Your toes, except perhaps for when you're on, if you put the heel on the ankle, your toes point downwards. They don't stick forwards so you can get up higher. If you stick the toes forward and you bring your leg up so the heel is above the knee, but the toes are pointing forwards, you're going to twist your knee. You may not do it right now, but you will at some point. So please don't do that. And remember, you have as much pressure with the standing leg going into the bent leg as the bent leg has pressing back against it. So there's a nice firm foundation. Have your hands however you want to. You can put them behind you. You can hold them in front of you. You can have them down beside you. You can hold up. something, a beach ball, you could put your hands together above you, but again, if the hands together above you, the arms touch the ears, the hands are flat together, not this. So please decide how you would like to be, and remember, you can always move. So if you're in a position and it isn't working for you, you can shift to something else if you want to. And of course, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. So, draw the right leg up, put it into a position that's going to work for you, or might work for you. Press the foot firmly into the leg, and the leg presses firmly back. And bring the arms up, hold a nice large beach ball, or put the hands together. Oops, 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 oops. That is Tufty. Tufty. Come on, girl. There you go. Yes. It's always good to have a friend in the room when you're practicing. Lift the clavicles, drop the spinous scapula, tuck the two floating ribs. Then when you're ready to, undo the bind. Hey girl. Normally there's a chair there and she'll jump up on the chair and look out the window. But I moved the chair and put a light on it. So she's a little at 6s and 7s. Now we'll do the other side. If you need to alter the way you're practicing for this side, please do that. And remember, if today is a wibbly wobbly day, just go with it. Everybody gets them. It's not a big deal. Tuck the two floating ribs. The balances are very good for your brain. And undo the bind, or fall out of it. Now, the next practice I would like to do is on the floor. So please come down onto the mat however you would like to. I'm going to go get onto the floor using Surya Namaskar again. Toes together, feet slightly apart, arms up overhead, forward fold, bending the knees if you want to, looking forwards a little bit, hands on the floor, step back with the right foot, then the left foot, come into Planka Asana, the plank pose, then go down to Chaturanga Dandasana, and up into Urdhva Mukta Svanasana. Then flip the feet over to Adho Mukta Svanasana. Nice stretch. Use the big toes. If you find when practicing this pose that your back feels tight, bend the knees. That'll take the pressure off of the back. Remember, it's really important that you keep the back happy. Eventually, your legs will lengthen, the sinews in the legs will start to lengthen, and you can straighten the legs. Please do not be focused on getting the heels to the ground. That is a good way just to hurt your back. And then down. The first pose I would like to do is Sukasana. It's a nice, easy pose, a good basic twist. The toes in this pose are pointing forwards. The sides of the feet, the blades of the feet are pressing down. The feet are not turning like that, so the top part of the feet are laying on the mat. The right leg is in front to begin with. Put the hands on the knees just for a moment and just draw the legs forward, or draw the torso forward just a little bit. You should be sitting on your sits bones. If you find that you're leaning back, please sit on a blanket or on a block, whichever happens to be available to you at the moment. Exhaling. Then on the next exhalation, keeping the chin in line with the sternum, start to turn the torso towards the right. Keep the chin in line with the sternum. Only turn while you're exhaling. Then, after a moment or two, when you've gone as far as your body wants to comfortably go, not as far as you want to turn yourself, but as far as the muscles will comfortably let you go, take the right hand, bring it around behind you, and put it on the thigh behind you, or if that won't work, keep it beside you. Don't have your hand just wrapped around the back. It needs to be either fingers or hands on the thigh, the left thigh, or on the floor. Press down with the outer edges of the feet. Then when you're ready to, turn the head towards the right shoulder, just so you can see the corner of the right shoulder with the right eye. Relax the shoulders, lift the clavicles, drop the spinous scapula. Now undo the bind, return to the front. Pause for a moment. After you've been in a twist, it's always a good idea just to pause before doing the other side. Exchange the position of the feet. So now the left leg will be in front, or the other foot, depending on how you started. The outer edges of the feet press down. Lift the clavicles, drop the spinous scapula. The chin is in line with the sternum. The feet remain active. Start turning the torso while exhaling. Right hand on left knee or thigh, whichever works for you. Don't use the hands to turn you around, just let the torso turn you. If you want to, bring the hand behind you, left hand behind you, and rest the fingers on the right thigh or on the floor, not hovering in between. Turn the head when you're ready to. Now return to the front. Pause for a moment. Extend the legs out, just shake them out. The next pose I'd like to do is called Matsya Asana, which means the fish pose. So there are two ways that you can do this. This involves a back bend. I'll show you the easy way and the back bend, and then I'll show you the hard way and the back bend. I strongly encourage you, if you are going to do the hard way, that you are sure that your knees will take it, because if not, you could really hurt yourself. So the first way is with the legs extended out, the arches in the feet are going forwards, the toes and the feet are dorsiflexing back towards you, your knees are active. You lay down, your head is on the mat. Then you move your head up, balancing on your elbows, starting to move the crown of the head towards the floor. So you're getting a back bend in the thoracic part of the back, the upper part of the back. And you breathe, keeping the action in the elbows, keeping the legs engaged. And then when you're ready to, you come out of it. The other way, you begin with Padmasana, the lotus pose. Now it's very important if you're going to do this that your knees will like it. So, and part of it is how stiff are your hips. If your hips are stiff, it's going to be very hard on your knees. So make sure that if you're going to do this, that your knees like it. If they don't like it, please do not do it. Now, you lean back, hands on the floor, then you start to shift your elbows, bring the legs down, lengthen the neck a little bit, try to bring the shoulders towards your hips a little. Matsya Asana. I usually practice this one after I've done Vrksasana, the headstand. And then come out of the pose. The next pose that I would like to do is called Tollasana. Tollasana is an arm balance. It's a simple arm balance. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. The first thing I would like to say is that do not worry about whether you get your torso off the ground. If you don't get your torso off the ground, you're still going to be engaging the same muscles that you would if you were getting your torso off the ground. So if you do not have the muscle mass to be able to lift yourself up off the ground, please don't worry about that. Just know that you are using those muscles, so in time the muscles will tone up and you will be able to do that. If you have a couple of blocks that are the same size, you can put the blocks beside you and press down on one or press down on the other. Okay? You could use a couple of similar sized books as well. So, you can do this three ways. One way is to simply have the legs extended out, as if you were going to do Dandasana, the seated staff pose. In which case you put the hands beside your hips and then pressing down, lift the hips up off the mat. And when you do that, lift the clavicles, drop the spine of scapula, tuck the two floating ribs, have the spine nice and comfortable. Keep the arms in beside you, not out to the side. The elbows are pointing backwards. The other way is to sit cross-legged. If you want to, you could take a strap and tie the legs together. Some people find this works, some people don't. I personally don't particularly care for it. I either do it without the strap or I do a different leg position. And in which case you have the hands beside you and you lift up off the mat. Even if your buttocks aren't coming off the mat, you're still using the same muscles. So you can do it that way. Or you could practice doing Padmasana, the lotus pose again. If you did the lotus pose the last time, please switch legs so the other leg is on the inside. Again, only do it if your knees will take it or won't mind you doing it rather than your knees will take it. Make sure that your legs feel good about that, because if you start damaging your knees or you have knee problems, it's just going to make it worse. So, put the hands beside you, lift the legs up. If you're doing Padmasana, you may want to bring the knees up towards you a little bit. Hold it for whatever is comfortable for you, lifting the clavicles, dropping the spine of scapula, tucking the two floating ribs. Using your core tummy muscles, using your arm muscles, and then down. Undo the bind, The next pose I'd like to do is Gomukhasana. Cows go moo, a friend of mine, calls it. I always thought that was a nice way to remember the name, especially when you're beginning. It's cow face. Now with cow face, if you want to use a block and a strap, I recommend it. So basically the pose looks like this. Now, you can sit with the buttocks, sit like that. It will allow your spine to be open. It may be easier for you to line the knees up. Then with the strap, if the right knee is up, the strap goes on the left side. So in this case, the strap goes over. Then bring the left hand up. Bring it back, keeping the elbow out, not out to the left, but straight in front. Hold on to the strap. Bring the right hand straight out, turn the thumb down. Bring it down behind you and hold on to the strap wherever it's comfortable for you to meet. Don't force your hands together if your arms don't want it, if your shoulders don't want it. That is one way. Another way is to do it without the block, or you can do it this way, where you actually sit on the foot. The heel of the foot is in the buttocks. The leg comes out beside you. The knees line up. Right knee is above. You can take the strap, put the strap over the left shoulder, bring the arm straight up overhead and back. See, it's following the thumb up and over. Elbow straight out, or bring the right hand down, the thumb points down, bring it in, keep the arm close to the back, and then bring the hand up as close as you can reach it to the other. But the arm is against the back. So, please choose the way that you would like to do it. Lift the clavicles, drop the spine and scapula, tuck the two floating ribs. Listen to your body. And then undo the bind. When you come out from doing the arms, always let the arms rest for a moment before doing the other side. Then open the legs, extend the legs out, shake them out. Do the other side. Lift the clavicles, drop the spine of scapula. Adjust your neck. Try to keep the neck from getting tight. Keep the chin tucked a little bit. Relax the face. How is your breath? If you find that your shoulder cuffs are aching, lengthen the strap or move to the strap if you're not using one. Now undo the bind. Allow the arms to relax for a moment. Undo the legs. Shake them out. Now, the next pose that we're going to do is Shavasana, the corpse pose. I would like you to have something for your head to rest on. A block, a blanket, a small pillow, just something that your head can be elevated, and have it so that the block or whatever it is that you're using is against the occipital ridge not really touching the neck. It might touch the neck a little bit, but not a lot. And lay down. If you want to use a blanket to wrap on you, you may. Look at your feet. The feet go directly out from the body. Turn the palms so that they're facing upwards. Relax the shoulders. Now, what I would like you to do is just tense the body entirely. And then relax. Then tense the body again. And relax. Then relax the feet. Let the feet fall to the sides. If you haven't put the block in place, please put the block in place. Make sure that it feels comfortable. If you're wearing glasses, you may want to take the glasses off so you don't have the pressure on the bridge of the nose. If you do have a blanket to put on you, I recommend doing that. It's really a comfortable feeling. And then just starting at the feet, relax the muscles in the feet, in the legs, in the hips and buttocks, in the lower back, all the way up the back, down the arms, the neck, the face, the crown of the head, the eyes. When you're almost finished going through that, lick the lips, then keep the tongue comfortably in the mouth, not touching the roof of the mouth or the floor of the mouth. And then relax the roof of the mouth, the hard and soft palate. Then as you start moving deeper into the pose, I want you to watch your breath. Try not to fall asleep, but just watch the breath. And remain in this position as long as you want to. I will meditate for a few minutes, then cease the session. But you continue on as long as you want to. Of all the poses, this pose is the most important one. So please do not neglect this pose. So of all the poses, if you have to skip a couple in order to be able to fit this one in, skip a couple to be able to fit this one in. It really is that important. So, please practice Shavasana. If you are going to do meditation instead of Shavasana, well, I would hope you would do the Shavasana, but if you were planning on doing that instead or at the end, please sit on something so that your hips are elevated from the floor. Otherwise, the lower part of your back is going to round, and you don't want that. You want to have your back nice and natural. There should be a little bend in the lower part of the back, in the spine, dipping in before the buttocks. Just slight. You'll notice when you find that your back will feel light, your back will feel relaxed. I like to use a blanket. So whenever I travel, I always bring a blanket. Just a little blanket or something, enough so that when I practice my meditation, I can put it over my shoulders. A towel will do at a pinch. Thank you for coming to the practice. If you would like, please subscribe. If you have any comments about the practice, please don't hesitate to leave them.